Hello, I'm Bob the Booker and welcome to my channel. And I somehow entirely missed that the International Booker Prize shortlist was being announced earlier this day. I'd kind of completely written it off and thought it was going to be the evening for some reason, because of time zones, and just assumed that I would not be able to make it. So I didn't. And then I just checked Instagram and I was like, oh, that appears to be the shortlist. So with that, here is my response, I guess, or reaction to said shortlist. So I'm still reading my way through the long list. I've read 6 of the long list, 2 of which are now in the shortlist. I didn't want to make any predictions until I'd read the rest of the long list, partly because I had like a mixed up and down feeling about some of the long list, and thought I'm basically just going to be guessing here. But with that said, we have a shortlist and it looks like a really interesting one. A few of them on there are ones that I've either read and enjoyed, or books that I've been really keen to get around to. So first, the one I actually physically own, Selva Almada's Not a River, and translated by Annie McDermott, which I did a solo review of. I really enjoyed. I think it's a really brutal and very slim focused novel about sort of brutality and about so many other things. We've got a few other books on this list that I think are just super exciting. What I'd Rather Not Think About by Jente Posthuma. I've got a solo review coming out tomorrow by wonderful bits of timing. And that I really enjoyed as well. I thought that had such an interesting voice to it, such an interesting focus narratively. I just sort of really enjoyed the slightly conversational tone of it. And that leaves the other 4 that I've not yet read, but I'm very excited about reading. So we have The Details by Genberg, who is, I believe, a Swedish author. And this just sounds like a really very, again, sort of slim focused book that feels very enjoyable and very interesting from what I've heard. Jenny Erpenbeck's Kairos, which is one of the ones that I'm really keen on the list. So this and the next one I'm about to mention, Plow, I think are probably the 2 that I've been most excited about reading, even pre-list. These are the 2 that people kept on talking about as being books I just needed to read. And both Kairos and Plow to me just sound like these really interestingly brutal focused books about specific things. And with the final one here, Mata 210 by Hwang Sok-yong, a Korean author, this I suppose also kind of solidifies that this, something that often happens with prize lists and prize shortlists, is that there is a focus that the judges perhaps unintentionally ended up gravitating towards. So the non-international booker last year was sort of, people poked fun quite often about how it was a list a lot about mothers, and particularly sort of dead mothers. And, you know, sometimes it's sort of something in the 5 people who are judging the books who come together and think of something and think, actually, there's something really interesting here about this, and it really resonates with me on a personal level. This book this list for the shortlist for the International Booker this year appears to be a little bit more about loss. It seems to have kind of a bit of a focus in that sense. There are quite a few books that deal with that. Quite a lot about politics and violence, it seems. And actually, there's a quote on the website. Excuse me while I just read this. So the chair of judges, Eleanor Vachtel, says, "Our shortlist, while implicitly optimistic, engages with current realities of racism and oppression, global violence and ecological disaster." Cheery subjects, but that's often what literature does, right? It kind of pokes at and probes at the kind of real world issues that we're contending with. So I'm really excited to see this shortlist. I think this just seems like a really intriguing set of books. And I'll be finishing reading all of the long list and shortlist anyway, and I'll do solo reviews for those, and then eventually come together and read, you know, sort of talk about the shortlist as a whole once I've read all of them together. But what an interesting set of books, and I think particularly a few of them in there that I've been really wanting to read. So yeah, let's see how this goes. I'm very early. This is, I don't know what this is based on, because I've only read 2 of them. My hunch at the moment first is that Crooked Plow is the one that might win, based on almost nothing apart from the fact that it seems to have been universally beloved by a lot of people I know. So that's the one that I feel maybe has the strongest chance. But they're all on the shortlist. They've all been chosen by the judges, and it could therefore mean that any of them win, obviously. Yeah, it's kind of, I think this feels like a really solid shortlist from the ones I've read. I'm really glad that What I'd Rather Not Think About made the shortlist, because I really enjoyed it, but thought it might not. It might be one of those ones that didn't really stack up on a reread. So actually, I'm really glad to see that it does, at least in the eyes of the judges. The House on Via Jamito, I thought would be a shoo-in actually for this. So a little surprised about that one not being there. But apart from that, what a shortlist. And I'm excited to actually sit down and read it all. Who are you hoping wins? What are your kind of favourites for this? Take care and speak to you all soon. Bye-bye.